Dimp Digital presents Idle Game Chat.
Cool.
Hello, Apps here from Dimp Digital. Welcome to Idle Game Chat. This is Dimp Digital's flagship video game podcast where we take you through the ups and downs of the wonderful world of video games. We're here on your favourite podcast app and YouTube, absolutely free. However, if you wish to support this grassroots independent endeavour, head over to patreon.com/Dimp Digital and join the community. Hashtag and in pocket. This week, it's the return by the disgraced and dishonest Dimp Digital gaming quiz charlatan. It is Lashit Tom Adkins, not Adcock, but he has returned after a 4-week hiatus. A summer break, I called it. That's what I do for the F1. They have 4 weeks off. And then they
get those batteries recharged.
That's it.
I want to thank my resident referee Logan for stepping in.
Yeah, no, he was great.
It's been good.
He was happy to come along. He did his research where he needed, and he was happy.
Perfect
to chat.
replacement.
Wow, that's it. Now, like I said last week, now people don't know who's going to rock up.
No, it's nice. It's every week's.
You might be part time now. You might like the part time life and think, whoa.
Oh, retirement already he's thinking about. But no, I'm glad the fans have been calling it. I remember Hogsworth, Sam, and he messaged you, didn't he? He went, "Are you gonna have anyone else other than Adkins?"
Yeah.
And he got his wish, and now I see him every week going, "Fuck, when's that Adkins coming back?" I long for the Adkins.
They don't know what they've lost until it's gone off these people. But speaking of Hogsworth, I think he's on holiday at the moment, but he's got that. I keep talking about this bloody Steam Deck, so I'm going to get him on to talk about it.
Say my fucking phone's full of videos of him with his emulators.
Yes. I really want to get into having a chat with him and finding out about that. So I've said it enough times. When he's back, I will organise some time to talk through that. But you're back. Up to anything interesting on your gaming travels, or has it been a bit of a blower?
Absolutely not. I've probably played the game you would least think I would play in my time off. And I started one. I can't remember the last pod I did, but I started Mafia Definitive Edition.
Oh yeah.
And I it wasn't. I enjoyed my time with it.
30 FPS slop. Couldn't handle it.
It wasn't like, oh, this is terrible, I'm going to stop it. But I did just stop and then to
classic
play.
Adkins.
Yeah, it was. I will go back and finish it.
Yeah.
But one game that did take my toll was PowerWash Simulator.
Mate, it's been a sensation. There are loads of people playing this game, and what shocked me more was that you've been playing it, because I was thinking, oh, that sounds like a bit of me, but yeah. I'm surprised that you said you've played 35 hours or so.
35 hours,
and it's
clocked.
Still not done.
Still going. Not done.
That's put me off a little bit, because I like the finishing line on games. I felt this would have been a nice 10-hour tops jobby. But for 35 hours, I'm assuming that it's still got his hooks into you, and
it is.
Or you just playing out just to do it now. And
I'll just do it now. Play it. Albert plays it if I can get it. It's so annoying because the way you play it is you have like an objective, and then you have like a percentage of how clean it is. So now I play it, and now it starts at 0, and I get to about 10%, and he goes, "I'm having it at 15." I go, right, okay. So I have to give him the controller at 15 because it is co-op, but you can't. I don't think it's couch co-op. I think it's online only.
Oh, so you can't split screen it.
You can't split screen. No, there is a mod apparently, but I'm on that Xbox. But so he'll do it, and then he'll go. I'll say to him, right, give it back to me. I go 21 or something like that. Something close. But he obviously takes a lot longer than me to play it because he's not got the precision skills I have. But typically it's taken me longer than normal, but. Yes, it's just so boring and just mundane that it's fucking brilliant. It's great. Like it's just is what you'd think it is, and yeah, the levels get sort of a bit trickier to clean, and you have to really go over some bits. There's no story whatsoever. It's just you're playing through missions. But I thought, like, yeah, I was like, oh, this will be a 10, 15 minute, fucking 10-hour challenge. And no, 35, and I'm still going. And I think it's just going through every single level now.
Yeah. Do you know how many are left or how many you've got?
I have no idea. No, I think just from what I've seen, there's ones that I'm on ones that I've not seen now. So I think I must be at the end because I've watched a lot of it. And yeah, I think that there's loads of different modes. So you've got like free mode where you can just do whatever job you want.
Yep.
Careers where you get jobs and you get money for doing it, and then you can buy better power washers or better nozzles. And there's a challenge mode which I haven't played yet, which is quite good, where you actually have like a limit, because on the mode I'm on, there's no limit for your water.
Right.
It's endless,
Yep.
so there's no time limit.
Oh, those
pipe
pipe bans where they are.
Exactly, yeah, which we will be getting soon, no doubt. So yeah, so I've just been rotted on that, but I've got a feeling it's going to be another fucking Horizon jobby, Forza Horizon jobby, where there's not going to be any end credits.
Yeah, that will frustrate you.
Nothing.
Well, it has been
yeah.
very popular. I've seen lots of like prominent streamers playing it and personalities and on other podcasts. Like, it's certainly one of those games that, because it's on Game Pass, the barrier's so low, people have just got onto it and jumped in. And it's a shame about the local co-op not being there, but you can play with up to 6 people online. I mean, I don't know how much of a laugh that would be after a few hours, but
quality,
lovely old job. So
but honestly, that is pretty much all I've done. I've been in one of those sort of post God of War ruts that we got ourselves into.
Yeah.
I suppose I think Horizon probably was the last game I played. Yeah, Platinum that.
It's nice to disconnect though sometimes from.
Yeah, that's what I feel like I've done. I've sort of, even though I've sort of had one eye on the gaming news, not that there's been a huge amount
to make it up as we've gone along these last few weeks.
Yeah. To be fair, I've been pretty much watching the Dimp pod to find out the news, because I'm like, I didn't even know that. There was a couple of items on there. So, that's what's going on. So yeah, I've taken, like you say, I remember you used to do it, didn't you? Just detach yourself from the net matrix and just reset, basically.
It is nice to do. I feel like I've been playing Zelda all year, and I haven't. It's been like 4 weeks. I'm getting nowhere fast, but I've been spending a lot of time with, which is speaking offline about, with the Dark Pictures anthology, The Quarry. That As Dusk Falls is dropped on Game Pass now, so that's all stuff that I've been focusing on, than just playing like an hour of Zelda a week. But I'm getting nowhere fast in that game, and I'm like, I wish I hadn't started this project. But once I think I've cleared these sort of games that I've been wanting to play, Stray as well was another one that was like that was about a week and not even quite a week's worth, but jumped into that. But
nice,
because of the lack of like massive big games that I've been super interested in. It gives you that opportunity. And
I feel this is a bit of like the calm before the storm, because I think I've pre-ordered about 7 games. What have I done?
Well, one of those games I think we're going to speak about, but I'd like to hear your pre-order list when we get to that. Actually, what else is lurking on there? So get that.
I think it's all on Shop 2. I think I ended up doing. I think they must have a bit of a. Do you remember when Curry's used to do like a price check thing? Like if you could match, they'll match it or whatever. I assume that these must be doing, because everywhere I look, I go, oh, it's £1 cheaper here, I'll go for there. And then the next day it's the same price. I'm like, right.
Yeah.
I've got it all done by Shop 2.
No.
And I'm scared to do Simply these days.
Well, they went missing for 2-3 months, so they don't want that happening, do you, with a key game? So Shop 2, lovely jubbly, I say, those boys and girls over there.
You say as well about the fucking post office.
Well, yeah, they've been. I don't know if they actually have had a strike yet. If I did, I didn't notice. That's not me slagging them off, but I didn't notice they had, or they managed to correct it. But that's again, that is a potential issue.
5 day one pre-orders.
Lovely.
And then there's a potential for 2 others, but
okay,
they're not day oneers, but we'll discuss.
A little bit of information to be It'd be like a little quiz question for the audience later. About which games did Adkins, in fact, say he'd pre-order out of the 5, and there were 2 that he hadn't. Got a quick Fantasy Gaming League update whilst we're here. Mr. Logan chucking another game on the board for his Grand Prix team. 2 Point Campus. So we had 2 Point Hospital a few years ago, and this is the same team making that. It's on Game Pass as well. So if you're interested in the strategy, or it's not like a park builder, it's a fucking campus builder, but those type of games, this is there. Scored him a lovely old 84 at the moment. So it's going to be in that
respectable,
mid 80s range, which is good. He had a blank, so he had to make this sub. He was he's the only actual person that had 8 out of the 10 games, so he didn't get 10 to start with. So he had to make these substitutions or these transfers, and he scored himself a lovely 84. So no complaints to him. He sits on a score of 330 with an average of 85. So his team is Pokemon Legends Arceus, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Gran Turismo 7, 2 Point Campus. Pretty good haul of games. Not many, 4. No. Obviously, he needs to get to the 10, really, because that's the golden number. And I don't think anyone's ever won with less than 10. I doubt that will happen this year, but stranger things have happened. But in terms of the games that he has been dropping out, he's got God of War Ragnarok there waiting. He's got Football Manager 2023 waiting. Splatoon 3 waiting. They're all going to be at least in the 80s.
Yeah.
Gotham Knights, which we're going to transition into in a moment. Redfall, which is not coming out, so that needs to be transferred. And then Scorn, which for me is the wild card. That could be...
It's still set for this year, is it?
It is, but as we record this, there's no official date. And again, that's scary to me.
I had that last year this point in the year, and I was like, right, I think I got to that last transfer window. I was like, they ain't give a date yet. And I think it was only a couple of days before, and I was like, nah, I've got to get that out.
Yeah, it's the right decision. That's the way to do it. That's a little FGO update, still rumbling on. Got another few weeks until the final transfer window of September will open, and that's going to ultimately decide who wins both the Grand Prix and the Championship Showdown, and we'll update you.
Anyone have that Live Alive? Or Live Alive?
No, I don't think anyone got that.
Squandered. There's been a lot squandered this year.
There has been a few squanderers, and when people look back at some of the garbage they've put on their teams, then they'll wish they hadn't, but it's heating up. That's it. The business end is coming up. Just as the Premier League kicks off. Right. Number 1 for this week. We got some Gotham Knights gameplay. Some more Gotham Knights gameplay.
More
gameplay. Yeah.
To be fair, we haven't... Did we have...
We had something in May.
They came out with a gameplay, didn't they?
When they revealed it, I feel like when they revealed it, this was 2 years ago, I think. It was 2020. They had like...
When he went up that clock tower with the ice,
that's it. They? Now, the game doesn't look anything like that anymore. If you compare the two, it does not look like that, and that may be an issue for them. But it looks like Gotham Knights is part of the IGN first series. I only tune into these when they're previewing games, because sometimes they do games that have already come out and they do like interviews and whatnot. But over the month of August, we can expect more coverage to be rolling out for Gotham Knights. So it'll be interesting to see what we get in the coming weeks via IGN, but they kicked us off for August with a 16-minute gameplay showcase of sorts. It was literally called the first 16 minutes of gameplay for Gotham Knights. Oh,
breaking those opening spoilers.
Well, actually, they did say they've cut out the prologue,
right?
Because in this, the way they're setting this up is that Batman's dead in this one. And it's not related to the Arkham series. Nothing. Even though you could draw that line if they wanted to. They could have tied them together. They haven't. So they're saying Batman's dead. And I'm wondering if in the prologue that's what transpires and they want to keep that behind closed doors. So this was like the first kind of mission. Got to see Batgirl in action this time.
They seem to be working their way through, didn't they?
Yeah, all getting
a taster.
That's it. So as I mentioned earlier, this, as I understand it, was on a pre-order list for you. After seeing this later offering, is it still on that pre-order docket, or is it in danger?
I am afraid to announce it's still on there.
You've just not got round to cancelling it.
It's not, exactly, yeah. I watched this and I went, right, that is disgusting. But no, I am still, I don't know. I just love this franchise.
Right, yeah.
This game, but yeah, it's still on there. I've got in a free custom bat cycle skin. What is that? Come
Gear, innit?
on.
Oh, you had to break that down for components, probably, if you don't want all that stuff.
Yeah, that's very true.
So whilst we're looking at your pre-orders, so we've got Gotham Knights is still on there confirmed, and we'll get your thoughts on this. But what else have you got on that list?
So we start off with, I suppose this is the closest, The Last of Us Part 1.
Oh, of course, yeah. Was you tempted by the Firefly edition? If it was in stock, would you have gone for the £100 steelbook type job? Or are you not really interested in that? Because you are a physical collector, but you've never...
I am a physical collector.
In my experience, you've never hunted after these
there was
steelies.
one.
Well, it sold out in like 2 minutes. It may well have even only been the US markets as well, but it's called the Firefly edition.
Oh, yeah, black and white. I didn't see that. What does it come with? Because I bought I think I got the same edition you did with Part 2, where it came with like the little art book. And
that's it.
Pretty much it. But this one's... No, that's 2, isn't it? Do you know, I didn't even know this existed.
Well, you saved yourself 30 quid, at least. Probably more, actually.
Yeah.
I imagine you got it for cheaper. So we've got The Last of Us Part 1.
Last of Us Part 1. Obviously, Mr. Kratos and the gang.
Yeah. Closing out that Norse mythology.
Closing out. Callisto Protocol.
Yeah.
Because...
Schofield.
£45. It's a very good
This
price.
is the advantage of the physical side of things. I mean, how much was The Last of Us? 60 something, I would assume.
£60.85.
Yeah, bit less of a sting in the tail, isn't it?
Got Gotham Knights at £49.85.
50 UK pounds.
Kratos at astounding £59.85.
What? PS5 version?
PS5 edition as well.
59 you said.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
thought you said 49. I was like, it's got 20 quid off.
Oh, that would be a great. No, £59.85. So 60. Comes with a Kratos Risen snow armor.
Yeah, I remember getting some armor on mine, and he had like I think it was a Guardian shield. It had no stat boosts on it. It was
that's true.
I think it said, I might be getting this mixed up, but one of the shields in the first one was made by his wife, and it said it in the notes. And I couldn't remember if that was the special added one or whether that's the one you get in the game. It's probably someone will never correct us because they won't care. But...
Yeah. And then, the Callisto Protocol for $45.85, which is a good price. And the last pre-order, which would be day one for me, is Bayonetta 3. Coming in at a £39.85.
Budget price for budget hardware, people are saying.
Budget. So we have the games that's on the sniffer meter that have not made cut day one is Saints Row, which is very soon, isn't it?
It's coming very soon. I think it's the end of August.
Very soon. So I've got one eye on there, but from what I've seen, it didn't deserve the full day one. And also, which we'll get into a little bit later, I assume, a little game called Pokémon.
Yes, interesting.
So,
well, there you go. There's Adkin's pre-order list. And
that could be a question in the quiz of the year, so keep that.
Put that as the tiebreaker, so you won't have an advantage there at all. You'll probably forget anyway.
Yeah, we will.
So cycling back to Gotham Knights then, 16 minutes, Batgirl in action. It stays on the pre-order list. What's your thoughts? What you feeling here?
I mean, I like what I saw. They showed off their, what's it called, detective mode a bit more. It's pretty much similar sort of things to what we had. You got, seems to be new sort of interaction with stuff. You got key codes and stuff, but for the most part, it's it's more of what I liked out of those games. The sort of sneaking about, the detective part of the game, and then it goes into being a bing. You know, the what did they used to call it? The free flow combat.
Did this look free flow to you?
Well, not. I mean, it's got that. What's it called? That the same sort of melee buttons.
Yeah.
But to be fair to you, there's no combos coming up.
Yeah.
So possibly I mean, yeah, they might have got rid
Maybe
of
you
that
have to
sort of
unlock them. It's the first mission. You never know. Maybe
No, because it seems to be very more RPG. Well, kind of RPG, but you've got levels in this. It seems, which you've never had in this.
gear scores, and I'm assuming the same for weapons potentially. Like I'm assuming you can mod and it's got all that. That's kind of underneath, under the hood workings. Not just are you good enough to beat this enemy. It's like now you've got to make sure you're equipped correctly, potentially.
Yeah, so obviously I've got my concerns because it's not the full team again. Although was it this the one that had done Origins? Is it?
Yeah, WB.
Yeah, WB. So yeah, it's more of the same. It's looking, but it's for me it is the sort of the setting and lore. I'm a big fan of the game. Yeah, it looks like it's obviously a different direction with this sort of Destiny-esque ambush.
They've ruined gaming forever.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm intrigued. I want to know how seamless this cooperative works.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about the multiplayer in general. Let's say it's seamless and how you like it. Do you actually want someone else, say me for example, mucking around in your game, talking over, voiceover, talking over radio messages, flapping around and just being in the way, and then saying, well, Adkins, you can't play it unless I'm not, like, trying to coordinate the game when you just probably want to get on with it, like.
Yeah. Well, I like that it's sort of, it gives you the options for both. You can solo this and do it. It could be quite cool. Like, I did think when playing like an Arkham, especially like an Arkham City, it would be quite cool to roar around as a co-op. But yeah, I do know what you mean. Certainly with Dying Light, we had that, didn't we? We were sort of just talking over fucking them radio conversations.
They didn't stop chatting though.
Exactly
Wind
that.
your neck in, mate. I'm trying to get rid of this fucking vermin.
Also, the concern was it this game that you said had a bit of a progression thing where only the host would progress and you'd have to go back and play? Was that something
actually
else?
That's Redfall. Redfall has that for sure. I actually don't know if they've confirmed how it'll work because
that could be a disaster.
That could be, well, it'd be a disaster for the person jumping in. The host to be fine.
Yeah.
So if you agree to host it all the time.
Yeah,
but Logan and I are playing the Division 2 sort of once a week. We do a session. And that's perfectly in sync. It just syncs. He jumped into my game. Whatever we do together, if he wants to. Not that we ever play without one another because we're sort of we're tight now. You see, after these podcasts, we're like real blood brothers now. Division bros, as I call us.
Division bros.
Got our own clan. There's only 2 of us in it because no one else. Everyone's played it.
The Dimp,
no, we can't even get into our own Dimp clan because whoever owns it, if it's Hall or Parky, hasn't got the game.
Hall, I think, set it up.
Fucking can't get in it. I have to make our own one up. But the progress on that for both players is great. It just seamlessly transfers when you go back to your game. But I don't know what I would assume that would be similar here, but you just don't know. I mean, I was shocked to see that Redfall didn't have that, and I was like, oh, we're still doing that. Yeah. Same with Dying Light 2. That's also doesn't have the same level of cross progression as the first one did because of all these bloody choices they've put in it. We spoke about this before the game come out, thinking, how are they going to do that? Well, guess what? They don't.
Right.
So
that is a stinker, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I mean, you know me, I'm very much a single player guy. I like that it's got the option that we could go for it as a co-op if anyone else was going to buy it. But I think I'm going to be hard to find someone that's going to buy this with me because everyone.
They should do a friend pass where if you've got it, you can. They never will, but
this is the risk with this game. Is I can see this as a Game Pass / PlayStation Extra.
I think it needs it.
Jobby. I think it could use it.
It feels like it's got a very lukewarm reception in both of its showings. And look, I love how open they've been showing off the game. I applaud and commend this approach, but I do think it's harmed it more than perhaps being a bit more secretive is. Also, I feel like people are really looking closely for issues for this. They're really giving it a hard time, ragging on it. I mean, it's not grabbing me by the bollards, I'll be honest, but I feel like it's getting overly crapped on for whatever reason. Like people are just really not happy with this game even existing. It's like they've almost made their mind up already that you know, 2 years ago when we saw this was never going to be in my wheelhouse. So let's look for every small minor detail. It's like, oh, look at that scruffy bit of crap there.
Yeah.
And that's, unfortunately, you open yourselves up to that when you this open, and
When you show
you know,
this
we
open,
cracked
yeah.
all over the Guardians of the Galaxy game because they
Yeah, that is
showed
very
in rough
true.
state. It ended up being great. So
Yeah, so there's a bit of hope, but no, I do agree what you say. Like it doesn't seem like normally when it's almost essentially like a reboot because we haven't had one since Arkham Knight.
yeah,
And from what I've seen, it hasn't been sort of George. It does just look like the next evolution of the series. You know, slightly better graphics. You'd think they'd be going to that upper sort of, you know, jaw-dropping thing that you go, fuck, wow, that's really what I've wanted for an Arkham game.
Yeah.
It does just sort of look like, oh, right, yeah, it's just another Arkham game. That's pretty cool. Which, for me, you know, is great because I love those games and certainly the story does tickle the bollards. But yeah, as an average consumer, I can see why it's not.
It's interesting
not
when you say
warranted.
that, actually. The way you position that was that it's not really grabbing bollards because it's more of the same. And I think, actually, I just feel like I've had my fill of
Right, yeah,
the
of,
Arkham trilogy. I didn't play Origins. I played those three. They were so...
I played Origins and Blackgate, which was a PS Vita game, I think,
hell.
or something. Was it a Vita game?
You
or
should have had your
Vita?
fill long ago, then.
I really should have had my feel, and I've gone back to the remasters.
Yeah.
Or
So I just feel like I feel like I've played this game or a variation of
Yeah.
it too many times.
certainly,
And also, it's for me, we're living in a post Spider-Man world as well. You know,
that is true.
that-
Superman games have been done better, and now the bar has been raised.
Spider-Man's so good,
Yeah.
so fucking good, just as a game, and also because it's a superhero property. And I just kind of look at what's on offer and a bit like,
Yeah,
do I want to go through another open world? It's probably not going to be short. If we've got
that's
gear
true.
grinding that might be factored in, I'm a bit like,
this is going to be DC's Avengers.
well, let's hope not. I mean, they're in a tricky spot, really, because they're picking up the pieces of, you know, the Batman-esque Gotham type games, because Rocksteady have gone off to do Suicide Squad, which I know is DC, same universe. So it's a very different
Who's
doing
doing
set of people.
that Wonder Woman game?
You know what? I can't remember now. I'll try,
I can't.
I'll
I
try and
just
look it
thought
up.
that.
That was just a screen, wasn't it? From what I
Yeah,
understand.
that was just one of those bloody E3 announcements.
Screen
You're like,
jobbies.
oh, here we go.
No.
But yeah, it is. Yeah, I can definitely see that why people aren't getting it. But that, like you said, I mean, Guardians Revelation sort of gives me a slight little bit of hope that someday.
Never write a game off.
No,
based
that's
on what you've
it.
seen. Sometimes you need to get the game in your hands. It's, you know, Logan and I were talking about the Last of Us remake job in. Part of the thing that people are saying, well, it don't look any better. And it's like, well,
Yeah,
it does, but also
Yeah.
part of that may well be once you get it in your hands and feel it, you think, cool, much smoother. But
Yeah,
But it's difficult to convey in videos, which is why they've been
Very
getting a
is.
hard time about it.
Notice that
Cool.
everything I've seen of Callisto Protocol looks fantastic, but technically it looks fucking dreadful. And I've noticed that IGN have started doing performance
Yeah.
performance reviews on like demos. And,
Yeah.
like
I actually
videos,
haven't sat down and watched one yet. I've got one in my watch later, but
Oh, nice. I think it's that Destin that does it, I believe. But yeah, it's interesting to see. So I've got to say, performance-wise, this game is looking sharper. But
better than what it was in May, certainly. It's definitely been
yeah, I
improved.
remember there was, especially that first trailer I think we saw as well, and it was like,
Yeah.
or there's the one I think you said, in May, where there was like a fight. He was fighting some like big Alf bloke, and the stuttering that was in it was like going down to about 20 frames. I was like, cool, they need to sort this out.
What's this?
So-
Right on the Switch? What's going on?
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what it's November, is September, is it?
25th of October, 2020.
Oh, so
so here's
still free,
here's the big question to round it out. Gotham Knights, 25th of October 2022. Delay or no delay? We're locking it in, or are we saying they
feel like
they
it'd
get
be
they get the
locking it in.
lukewarm reception again and go, oh, can we polish
got
it again?
Feeling I've got a feeling this is out the same day as Bayonetta.
Oh
I think
dear.
there's definitely 2 games I've pre-ordered that are out on the same day.
Oh dear.
I've got a feeling. I don't know if it is this. It might be something else. Is it Callisto Protocol?
Crystal
No,
Protocol's
that's
December.
That's December.
28th of October is Bayonetta 3, so it's 3 days after.
Oh, I've got 3 days to get this done.
Scary.
Oh, that is scary.
Maybe there will be
But
a
yeah.
cancellation of pre-orders when the
Yeah,
week
this is
comes.
the potential. Yeah, that is. It could be a tough month. That.
So you don't think it's a bit delayed though? You think that'll stay? It'll stick?
No,
around?
I feel like they're showing enough at this that
Yeah.
they're confident of it going gold and seeing it. I think
Maybe that's
obviously
how
the
they
look-
round out the IGN first coverage. Like at the end of August, they say, right, it's gone gold also now, and
Right, yeah,
we're locking
yeah.
it in. Let's do
Potential.
Cyberpunk and go, you've gone gold, and we're deleting it as well.
There's potential for that. I mean, Last of Us is already done, isn't it? That's gone gold.
Yeah.
That's locked in. But yeah, maybe this could. Didn't this did get a delay already, didn't it?
I think it has been pushed back at least once.
Has been pushed back
but
once, yeah. But yeah, it depends about this reception. Yeah, I know what you mean, the lukewarm. So I suppose they're going to have to just base it on that.
Well, they might just look and say, well, I don't know what these people want, because
Yeah.
we can't fundamentally change whatever problem they've got with it. So
Yeah,
we're gonna have to just dump
deal
it
with
out
that.
there. We've just signed this agreement with IGN to basically try and promote the game a
Yeah.
month before. So let's get it out. Monolith Productions are behind this Wonder Woman game, if reports are to be believed. So
wow.
Shadow of War and Shadow of
I was just
Mordor.
thinking, fat lazy creeds have got the
Yeah,
fucking
well.
hands on it.
Concerning, in my view. But Gotham Knights in the books. We'll see what else
book,
IGN produce. Anything interesting, we will report back on.
If you was to buy it day one, who would you start as out of your options?
Oh. It's either Nightwing or Deadeye.
Yeah,
Is it Deadeye? I don't want to bollocks his name.
Red
up.
Hood.
Red
Pretty
Hood.
much
Who's Deadeye?
Same thing.
He's the
Deadeye's
baddie, isn't
Will
he?
Smith one, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he was the baddie.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Red Hood. Yeah.
Headshot.
Just because
Deadshot?
range scum.
Yeah,
I like the
yeah,
idea of
that's-
just picking
yeah.
them off and not getting involved. But if it does flow like the Arkham games, then you're kind of missing that by using the range stuff. So,
Very true.
So I think I'd do. I mean, everyone wants to be Nightwing, so that'd be the safe choice. I think.
Yeah.
Robin, not so much, and Batgirl. Wow, we'll see. If you're
female.
cancelling films about her, then can you be trusted in a video game? That's my question.
That is interesting at the back of this hype. Everything seems there. I heard you and Logan talking about it. You know, these games we had, Last of Us series not missing the new release date. The Avatar
Yeah,
getting delayed, so it's not near the film.
Gollum
Now we
missing
got-
the new TV.
Oh yeah. And this we got Batgirl. Well,
Chucked
I
in the
suppose
bin.
but they probably chucked in the bin. They could have released a trailer and got people hyped for when this was announced.
and tried to
But
like.
no.
Synergy has been well and truly
Exactly.
evaporated. We also had for our number 2 item Pokémon Presents, which was a 20-minute showcase video covering all things Pokemon. Now, we're not going to go through all the updates because there was all sorts on there, like doing the Pokemon tournament in London this month. Pokemon Unite had some updates, etc., etc. This isn't a Pokemon podcast, but I thought it'd be wise to jump forward to sort of the main meat, the star of the show, if you will, for this showcase. And it is, of course, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Got another 8-9 minutes or so of not free-flowing gameplay, but trailer and explanation. We got the region, which is called Paldea. We saw the 2 legendary Pokemon that are going to be available for each respective version. So, what is it? Koraidon for Scarlet,
Right, yeah.
and Miraidon for Violet. I've butchered them. They're
I mean,
stupid names.
yeah. When did that first series come out? 99 was it? 98? Or was it even earlier than that?
96, I think.
Was it 96,
Yeah, I think
was it?
so.
Oh, blimey. So now we've got generation, and what are we up to? 8 or 9 generations,
You
is it?
Don't ask me. I've got no
I was going to
idea.
say, yeah. And you're getting what, 150 to 200 Pokemon
I
every
think there's like 900 odd now.
Oh. So you're getting to name, I mean, they're just
They're
there's
making
one
up.
after
They're making up bollocks now, aren't they? And just
is it? What's Biff's thing? He's like, there's one after a pair of keys and
Yeah.
a couple.
There's a cup and one that looks like a pair of keys. I was like, yeah,
That's it.
it's very true.
So they really have just gone right.
Yeah,
Just fucking mate, snake up on the spot, will you, mate?
We saw those two legendary Pokemon. They're there for people to look at. There's three. Well, they kind of said there's going to be three main story paths for players to follow. One's going to be the traditional Pokemon gym and the gym leaders path. So people that are familiar with that, they made a. And this, I think, this is something you've mentioned when you played Sword and/or Shield, that you can do these in any order. So you're not tied into doing, one after the other, basically. They were a little bit coy on what the other two paths would be for players, but they mentioned that they might involve some sort of treasure hunt. I was like, okay, that sounds weird, but let's go. And then they made up another word, introduced a brand new word that I'd never heard of. There's going to be terrestrial Pokemon. I think I've butchered that again. And these are basically you chuck a crystal on them, is from what I gathered from it.
And down the Final Fantasy route.
Yeah, and it enhances the Pokemon. It can change their appearance slightly as well. But also it can change the Pokemon type. So you might have a normal, I don't know, Eevee there. You do whatever you do to activate this terrestrial garbage. They crystallize and look stupid, but that then might morph into a water type Pokemon. Right. So mid battle could throw up some interesting strategies, couldn't it? Because I'm assuming once you change the type, their strengths and weaknesses will change along with that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that could take over. Do you remember in Monster Hunter World when you got those Apex versions of it, and sometimes they would be different? You'd be like,
yes,
you go to fight a bloody, I can't remember any of their names now. Anyway, one that you thought was right, this is a fire dragon or whatever. So right, I need to get me bloody water
for fucking ice. Yeah,
exactly. And then they get this Apex version that would sometimes change.
Did that in Horizon as well? Forbidden West, you had different variations and the Apex version. So
that's very.
But you're going to be able to. It looks like you have to activate this, or your opponent can activate this, or maybe a wild Pokemon can activate this. Just mid battle, you can chuck all this on.
That does add a good one. I wonder how them Bebins are going to get on with that. That might be a struggle.
I struggle with the basics, so it would catch me out for sure. They'd already confirmed this, but they showed off a little bit of the 4-player multiplayer co-op type thing, so you can roar around the world together, which could be fun.
Pokemon with wheels.
Yeah, basically. Well, they did. They look like bikes.
They had bikes.
Both of them. They look like little bikes. They also showcased like a raid that you could do as a team, so you can have 4 people jump in, take on this super powerful Pokemon together. And there was a bit scattered in there, but.
Terrestrialize. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
See what it's.
I don't know what
we've even got
words.
Pokeballs and things. Yeah, they do seem to make these words up. They had that in. Do you remember in Sword? Didn't they? That Gigantamax. Yeah, it was like fucking ridiculous. So yeah, it seems like they're cool. That is literally something out of Disney. Just got it playing on again here, just for refreshing purposes. But yes, it looks like they're taking on this raid. It's so weird because like. My brain has just been accustomed to the Destiny version of raiding now, or the sort of RPG where you're running around going through dungeons essentially, whereas this is just essentially just one big fight.
Yeah.
But it's nice that they're giving a lot of different options, like the free paths you can go down. You got raids, co-op. Is this was the one that is again? It's not going to be an open world, more of a Monster Hunter.
Well, I don't know. I think actually it might be an open world, but I don't know. I honestly can't tell you because it looked like they were going to do like the Arceus type thing, but they have also said I'm sure they said it's seamless, so that is somewhat different. But I think it's still retaining what Arceus did in terms of the Pokemon are out, roaring around. You can interact with them in real time, which was the key for Arceus for me. But based on what you've seen and heard, what's your thoughts here? Because you're coming off the back of Sword. I think it was Sword you got rather than Shield.
Yeah. I always go for the first.
Have you done Arceus, or is that on that
I
shame
haven't,
list?
No, that is on that shame list. That is... I think over halfway there. I think how many you had to get to the stars, didn't you? I think I can't remember what it was. Was it 8? I'm about 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah.
I think however many it was. So I'm on the back towards the back end of that. I will. To be honest, I went away last weekend, and every time I go away, I'm like, well, I'm sleeping in a hotel. The they're going to be asleep earlier than I do, so I'm going to be sat there for hours. I was like, should I just take that Switch? It actually might boost me to play it.
Yeah.
I picked it up, and I was like, I can't be fucked.
Yeah.
Put it down and left it. That would have been a good chance to jump back in.
Don't want neck ache before I go to bed.
No,
so
exactly.
Go out. So you, in theory, if you were to get your arse in gear, you could be playing 3 Pokemon games of inside a year.
Oh yeah, I could be. Good grief.
How's that sit with you?
Well, that's too much Pokemon for a 35-year-old man, if I'm honest. So yeah, yeah, I've got to say, yeah, I like it. I think it looks quite good. The trouble is, I mean, Arceus, whatever it was the dreamboat in terms of setup.
Yeah.
And then obviously we had that debacle of fucking presentation. I'm interested at what this looks like. However, like you say, I am a bit downtrodden in too much Pokemon thing. So it's not, like I say, it's not in my pre-order list, but it has got one eye on it. What say you, having completed Arceus and washed hands with essentially?
Yeah, I even done a bit of the end game on that. There was like a harder end game bit that I jumped in and did. There's still more to do. I was like, oh yeah, of course I'll go back to that. Have I fuck? It's that ship may well have sailed. Look, I mean, the game, the problem I had with Arceus mainly was just its performance and its presentation. This Scarlet and or Purple, Violet, sorry, it's purple, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah.
Is it? Is it the same thing though? Are we going to get told off for that?
These artist bastards will come in and they'll go, right, it's a different shade.
Right.
If you get the light, you go, fuck off.
We're saying in Essex it's the same colour, that's it.
Yeah. Purploid or nothing.
Purple or nothing. But look, this still looks like arse, really. And
yeah.
I don't want comments flying in from Discord or on Twitter or on WhatsApp saying, "Well, it's a Switch handheld, mate. What do you expect?"
Salmon's already.
He's already typing it. I know. Salmon, can you just go and look at what Xenoblade Chronicles 3 looks like?
Yeah.
That's on a Switch. That's what a Switch can do. So don't tell me that they can't do something to that level or better. Here's a. It's not a fact, but this is what's written down on the internet. Okay, Pokemon, it's an estimation. Is estimated to be the highest-grossing media franchise of all time, not game. Media franchise. So think of Star Wars, how long that's been knocking around for. It's above that, according to people who are clever with numbers and estimates. So don't tell me that they can't do better than this, because they are swimming in cash. And Xenoblade Chronicles 3 doesn't look like anything like a PS5 or an Xbox Series X or a Master Race game, but it looks good for what it is. Pokemon Arceus didn't look any good, didn't run well, and was just disgraceful on that front. But that's beside the point. The main issue I've got, and it's a first world problem, is I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
I've just played Legends Arceus. I feel like I've just finished playing that, and I just don't have a hankering to go back to Pokemon at all.
Was it last year they had Arceus and
had that remake of Shining, whatever it was, Pearl and Diamond.
Diamond. That was it. That was like November.
Over that one, haven't we? That'll be more comments flying in because we've stumbled in through that. But yeah, again, it's a lot of Pokemon. I don't need to be playing Pokemon every 8-9 months. I just simply don't need it. I can't fathom how they've done 2 games in this short period of time. It's impressive. But then, when you look at what's being shipped out from a presentational purpose, it's like, well, maybe that's why it's coming out so quick. And to be honest, I'll be frank as well. I actually really liked Arceus as like an Origins tale. It was set way before all this bollocks that's going on now. It was like humans had only just started interacting with Pokemon. I found that at least somewhat interesting. I mean, I look at what people are doing on this one. They look like just a bunch of geeks running around, just high-fiving and doing fucking dancing and stuff. I was like, I don't care about all this. I liked that zone. So if they do a Pokemon Legends whatever, and it's sort of a continuation of that time zone. I'm more likely to go to that. And going back to what I said, I don't need to be playing these every 6 months or 8 months or 9 months. Every few years I can wait for.
Yeah.
So that's where I am at with it. And
that's fair enough, isn't it?
Nintendo and Pokemon fanboys have already sent me all the abuse they're going to.
Thieving.
Well, that's the way it is, I'm afraid.
All agreeing with you. Oh.
Well,
still buys it every year, doesn't he?
Yeah, he buys it and doesn't play it. He's one of the...
Gives it to his brother.
That's why the fucking highest grossing media franchise got people buying it and not bloody playing it.
But the cards are making a comeback. There's TV shows, films.
I know. It's very impressive, and Nintendo are on course to have a really good year for the amount of games that they've shipped out. Let's make no bones about it. But in this instance, I can't think of anything in the world that's going to make me want to slap down whatever it'll cost to play Scarlet or Violet or both of them and get a super pack. It's just not on my radar at all. And you've got it on your sniffometer for potential pre-order. November the 18th, so it'll be a close run release date with the likes of God of War coming out, dropping in that November, like the week before. What do you reckon if you had to do a percentage on jumping in day one? Because is this Albert territory at all, or is he not?
Well, I don't think he is, because I tried him on that. He had a little phase of going through Pokemon. I think I started the Netflix series that started him on that, and he got hyped into that. Then he got a teddy. I think he won a Pikachu teddy somewhere, one of these arcades or something. So he got sniffed into that. So I started him on that Let's Go thing.
Yes.
Game, which he did enjoy.
The flicker.
Until he started getting to the bits where you got to change. He couldn't get his head around the element changes. Right, get back to school, you little brat. But I think I played. He liked Arceus running around and catching and that, but yeah, I don't. He seemed to have gone. He's gone off games already. He's got a fucking shorter attention span than me. The poor bastard.
That's to be expected. Get him on Fortnite. Just chuck him on.
Fortnite, I would love that. He's been on the old Minecraft recently. He likes that now. But no, unfortunately, I think this won't be in his realms. Kirby, on the other hand, has been his thing, so maybe I'll get that. But no, as a percentage, it's quite low. I'd say it's around the 45% mark at the minute of a day one. Yeah, it's under.
Tricky.
I think Arceus was the first one I bought day one for a long time. Or did I? No, I think even maybe Let's Go I might have bought after. Yeah, I think it was after. Certainly Sword definitely was.
Yeah.
Because I got that. I think I got that on the Currys were doing a deal for 30 quid or something. I think I picked that up.
Lovely old business.
But it's very low. I have one eye on it, but especially as I've still got Arceus to finish.
Yeah.
I can't see me longing for another Pokemon series this year.
No, yeah, and that's the crux of it really for me. If it came out and looked like Xenoblade, I might be like, all right, then, okay, but it looks like it's going to be probably be better than Arceus in some aspects, but still a bit just looks a bit shit. Yeah. And that's not a reason to not like it. But if you've already played, I mean, I don't know how many hours. I've done 50 odd hours in Arceus, so that's enough. I don't need Pokemon to be lurking this long. So I'll be interested. I'm sure it'll sell very well. I'm sure Pokemon fans are going to just eat it up. If you were going to buy it, is it going to be a Scarlet or a Violet version?
I mean, I always go for the first one, so it'd be the Scarlet. But to be honest, I never know. I should really go, right, let's have a look at the options.
That's another thing I don't like about the mainline series, is the two versions.
Yeah.
Legends Arceus, one version. Thank you. No bollocks.
Yeah.
Cut the fat. Ring me up, Nintendo, when you got Legends 2 ready, and I'll come back and play it, and I'll enjoy it most likely.
I think I'd go red, Liverpool red.
Liverpool red. Is anyone playing purple? No one good.
No,
not for
Spurs
first.
had a purple
Well,
kit
first team. Kit.
Yeah, first team. What about Fiorentina?
Maybe.
Was that blue?
I don't know. Depends on your telly, doesn't it? These days.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's it for the week's waffle. We've now got some sort of game impression for people to sink their teeth into to close out this week's episode. I got in the habit of letting Logan decide the last week's sort of end bit, so I'm going to chuck out 3 of them. You can you can choose. You can either listen to Logan review Dawn of Ragnarok, the DLC for Assassin's Creed.
I'd like to hear that.
You can listen to me waffle on about Far Changing Tides, which is a little 2D.
I don't know that one.
And then just for something different, you could listen to Adkins and I again, and I will talk about Man of Medan and Little Hope.
Oh, Man of Medan. I want to play that. Let's go with, as he's done such a good job for the last 4 weeks, there's people going, get this Adkins off his shit. He's past it. Get the resident referee back on.
Yep.
Let's let Logan shine in the Dimp digital lights and let him talk about that, because I am keen to hear about that, to be fair. Logan has gone full Viking.
He's 2 feet into Valhalla and he's watching the Northman, he's watching all the Viking stuff that's available.
Series. Yeah. Let his time shine, bless him.
Do you find it weird that he hasn't overly connected with God of War, the reboot? Because it's Norse, which is
very Norse,
basically like
and
all the
more,
Viking gods.
Yeah, more. What's the bloody word? Like certainly more than the fucking Marvel film.
Yeah.
But it delves. It's more, Norse-like, and they're very respectful for that mythology and stuff.
Gods,
but and he's very much into it, doesn't he? Like reads books.
Yeah, he loves it all. So
I am surprised.
He started it and he said, it's not really grabbing me, and I was like, oh, come on, mate.
Right, come on.
Part of it's because his PlayStation's in the wrong room, and there's that. Right. That's an issue. But I will.
Yeah, I always forget he's got a PlayStation. To be fair,
no, he barely plays it. The silly boy, he's always on that bloody Xbox. But each to their own. Anyway, we're going to hear some Dawn of Ragnarok, courtesy of Mr. Logan, and we will see you on the other side. Here we are then, back with some gaming impressions. This time it's Assassin's Creed Valhalla Dawn of Ragnarok expansion pack. I'm here with our resident referee Logan, and this is an unusual scenario we find ourselves in, because usually we are both going through an Assassin's Creed piece of content together. Like, I have played it either alongside you, or you've played it alongside me, or within a few weeks we've both started and finished it. Not for Dawn of Ragnarok. I've yet to plonk down my cash to dive into this expansion, but you, being maybe the world's biggest Valhalla fan at this rate, has gone out and purchased this bad boy, played through the lot, and you're going to share your impressions. So it's big pressure for you today. You're on your own. You haven't got me to correct you or back you up, or tang you up with my own opinions. This is purely on you.
Yeah, normally you bail me out because you're pretty good. Your memory sticks with you, whereas usually with me, once I've done it, I'll go, right, that's done, and then pretty much put 80% of it at least in the bin. So normally I have your brain alongside mine to prompt me on certain bits that I've forgot, whatever it is. But somehow allowed to run solo. Yep.
Always good though to get some untainted opinions in. I feel like I especially with like Adkins, I sort of lead him a lot of the times down the path I want, and the poor boy sort of just meekly sits there.
Gladly obliges.
Yeah, he just lets me walk over him too many times, so that's unfortunate. But I can't do that here. So we normally start off with a little bit of cards on the table. Now, I suppose we can do a truncated version of that, because the guys who have been listening long term will know that you've obviously played through Valhalla, got the season pass or the content packs that came that sort of first wave. For the first year, in fact, it was pretty much for the support of the game. Sort of, I think we enjoyed it somewhat, the extra content, and Valhalla itself, I think we enjoyed somewhat, and I thought it was perfectly solid anyway, but perhaps a bit too long. But I guess my question for the cards on the table for this expansion is, why did you go out and get this? Because it it felt like after the last one that was set in France, that we were kind of a little bit of a down on the extended content. It was fine, but it's like, do we really want to start to pay additional money to go off and play some more of this game? What hooked you in here? Was it just curiosity? Because sometimes, I know that troubles people. They're saying, well, how can you spend money on something you're just curious about? But I genuinely sometimes find that to be useful. Just I think, well, I wonder what it is like, even if I think it's not necessarily going to be the most groundbreaking piece of game I'm going to do all year. But, I'll hand over to you again. I'm trying to lead you again. There we go.
Trying to lead me down that path. Yeah, I mean, as you say, the listeners will be well aware of my penchant for Norse mythology and the Viking piece in general. So that has always drawn me into this game and kept drawing me back to it. I think we discussed in the last set of reviews that we did around this was I think both of us found the elements of the game where you become Odin and doing all the dreamy element of it are pretty much the worst part of the story. So that I didn't jump in straight away on this because I was a bit I'm in an iron about it. But in the end, I just went, you know what? I'm going to play it at some point. It's inevitable. And yeah, I think one day I just fancied to play this game again and just sat down and started it. But yeah, just continued on the old Series X. I did actually start it, again, just for completeness, on the original Xbox One and then upgraded midway through onto the Series X.
Kept all your saves, fortunately, because, it's a big old game, so a reset of that magnitude would be a disaster.
No reset. But yeah, so it's pretty much just a case of it's there to play, and it was just sort of nibbling at me. I think something was telling me to give it a go, so I did.
Excellent. So the price point in the store, this is the Xbox store, as we speak, obviously there are sales that go on and off, and sometimes if you've got Game Pass, you get an extra discount. Sometimes if you've got Xbox Gold, you'll get an additional discount. So ignoring all of that and all the bits and pieces that are going on, at present, the RRP, I should say, for this is £32.99, 33 UK pounds in real money. That's a fairly big investment. That's on the higher end. It's obviously not a full-fledged game these days, but it's over halfway there. Was there any apprehension in laying down that level of cash for another entry into Valhalla, which seemingly was going to be based in this area where we both weren't overly fond of, like the Odin kind of part of the storyline?
Yeah, there was. I think it is comparatively, for some reason it seems comparatively dear, but when you consider some of these downloadable titles on the PS5 and whatnot these days, it's half price. So it's not bad value. I mean, the way that I equate everything now is what it costs me to go to London for the day, all in. Right? So train fare, coffee, breakfast, lunch. Like I add all that together, and it's probably about it's probably around £33 a day. So I just go, well, it's just the equivalent of working a day in London.
Yes.
And that's how I equate this. So even a full price game, I go, well, if I worked 2 days in London, that's pretty much what it cost me, and I wouldn't even bat an eyelid at. I just go, well, that's what it costs. So I've kind of got a new philosophy with gaming, is that I'm not like you in that I buy a lot of games and play a lot of games. I'm pretty selective around the games that I do pay for and play.
Calling me careless.
So, no, I just don't have the same sort of interest. I just don't play as many games as you. So the ones that I do, I just go, well, do you know what? I enjoyed that, so I don't really care about paying £33. But for some people, I can understand why that might be a bit of a blocker for them. And I'd probably say that an early bit of advice, if you're not that fussed about playing it yet, don't jump at it. Wait for it, because it inevitably will go on a sale at some point, and that might be the best way to pick up something like this rather than jumping in at that price point.
No, you're very right. That's the unbeaten rule, is that the longer time goes on, the cheaper these things get. So if you are unsure, that's always a safe advice. So how is this one set up in terms of we understand, or at least I think I understand, that it's going to be set with Odin. What do they call him? Harvey? I can't remember the other name. Harvey they use, yeah. Which caused me no end of confusement for most of Valhalla till I sussed out. Actually, in fact, I had to read it up. I was like, I thought that was that, but why don't you call him Odin? But then I'm not a purist when it comes to Norse, so I don't be getting involved.
I am, and I didn't know that.
Right, okay.
I had to look it up because I was like, who's Harvey in this world? Because there was no... I just sort of did it by a process of elimination, where I was like, well... that everyone else, all these Norse gods are here other than Odin. Yeah. So he looks like Odin. He's got one eye missing. Like in every way, I was like, it must be Odin. But I was like, I've just got to double check that. But yeah, Harvey apparently is more of a colloquial version or name for Odin in Norse mythology, which I never knew up until this point.
Fair enough. That's well, at least it wasn't just me then. I guess that's bailed me out a little bit. But yeah, at least the impression the trailers gave is that a lot of the game is going to be set in this other kind of world, not in England, not in another new map, not with Eivor, whether that's male or female, depending on kind of your choice. Is that the case? Is that what we're doing for the majority of this game, or is there some more Eivor bits there that people who have kind of become accustomed to seeing him or her as their main character, they can get their teeth into some bits there for that character?
Yeah, I mean, it's all as Harvey. I mean, you literally, you kick off with it and it goes, oh, there's some bullshit about mistletoe and there's this mistletoe falling. Then you have to go around, make this potion.
Right, you drink that
you drink that and you're off. And that's pretty much the start of the DLC. So you spend the whole thing as Harvey. That is the content, which pretty much... was what I expected, but weirdly also slightly disappointed at because, not to get ahead of myself, but I've always struggled with that element of the storyline, in that I was sort of tried to just get through it and get back to being Eivor. Because that's where I guess the difference for me is Eivor, I feel like I can affect his destiny, whereas Odin's, he's sort of living through a dream. He's sort of just there. He is Odin. You are Odin, but there's always this kind of overlooking, or you're watching something happen.
Yeah.
So
you're not as attached, are you?
I'm not as attached, and I always feel like I'm just acting out a part.
Yes.
And I've never really liked that element of it. Although that being said, it's a good way to bring in some of the Norse mythologies, him doing that. But I just never found that as engaging as the Eivor content, I think.
So was that a problem for you throughout the game, or did this kind of this in-depth look with Odin and co kind of bring you around to the idea that actually it's not so bad playing, watching or playing out this scenario, or did that never quite rub off and there's always that sort of disconnection there throughout the majority of the experience?
Yes, I'll be honest. I struggled to connect with the game. Yeah. Like I did a couple of hours, and I found myself not really getting the motivation to go back to it for a couple of days. I was a bit like, I just didn't like I just didn't like it. I was like, I'm not feeling this at the moment. But I somehow got the motivation to go back to it, and after a couple more hours doing it, I found myself in the swing of it. But I did find it a bit of a problem. For a couple of reasons, I think. They'd introduced, which I can talk to in some detail as well, these new mechanics, if you like, that change how you interact with certain things. And obviously there's an element of puzzle solving to AC, and how you get to certain things and access certain different chests and whatnot, which they'd introduced, which I was struggling to kind of get to grips with, to know which ones to have when. And just the land and the environment was pissing me off. It's extremely hilly, like almost unnecessarily so. So to traverse it is irritating.
Yeah.
And I just didn't understand. Even getting up like some of the viewpoints, where you go to like access and to view all the rest of the land, it opens up all the, I can't remember what you call them, but basically you have to, normally up high, you get onto them and it sort of does this swirly thing, and it opens up and shows you where all the points of interest are.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Like a synchronization.
Yeah, the synchronization, that's it. So doing that is up like really high.
Okay.
Annoyingly high.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily, and there's several things like that were just irritating me about the game. I was like, I don't understand why at this point we're doing this. And the land was pretty similar to like what you'd see in England, except it had more rocks and hills in it, and it was just harder to traverse. They'd made everything a lot more vertical, which was irritating me. You remember when I spoke to you before about accessing that castle?
Yeah.
And it was just a pain in the arse to get up to every time.
Yeah.
Some of the bits just felt like that, where it's like, why are you just making this irritating? But I got through it in the end, and I definitely started to enjoy it the more I got through the story and sort of progressed through it.
How long do you reckon you spent with it roughly? Was it, we talking double digits? Are we talking 15 to 20 hours? Higher, or what are we after here?
So I think I was probably between 15 to 20, but possibly at the lower end of that 15 to 20.
Okay.
It was reasonably big, and I must admit I didn't do hardly any of the side stuff. I kind of feel like I was done with that.
What sort of side stuff do they have? Do they have any like side quests, or is it all like collectible like feathers and?
It's exactly the same as what you'd pretty much experienced in all the other DLCs, obviously with a slight twist on it. So I guess to give a little bit of background to the story, without obviously chucking loads of spoilers in, but you're there to save Boulder, your son. That's the idea.
I was going to read the description, but I just read that. Old Boulder popping up. So he's been kidnapped, is he?
Yeah, so Boulder's been kidnapped by Suter, who's this big bad guy. And basically the whole aim of the game is at any cost to save Suter. But basically you're in a place called Svartalfheim, which is basically the land of the dwarves. And they've just been, all the dwarves have been scared off into these little holes. There's like very little else there. Everywhere's been turned to shit. And there's this kind of ongoing quandary between helping the dwarves out and just saving Boulder. And basically, you're in this kind of Norse mythology land. You're helping out dwarves and stuff and lost people, and there's the usual bullshit side quests that are going on that distract you for about 10 minutes and go, why did I bother? But the whole premise of the game is that you're working through to save Boulder, and in the midst of it there's obviously a plan for why they've got Boulder, and trying to avert, as usual, some kind of disaster.
Well, the dawn of Ragnarok, it says here on the title, so I'm guessing that's something.
Indeed.
I've heard that's a bad thing that happens. I don't know exactly the details, but I've heard it's not good for the parties involved. So
and there's always this Destiny thing where it goes back to any Norse and Viking mythology where it's Odin's trying to avoid Ragnarok.
That's it, yeah.
And it's like, can he, by saving Baldur, avoid Ragnarok, but by trying to do what he does, then cause it? It's always that kind of
dilemma
that he's playing through. So it is, I think the story is arguably better in terms of its construct than perhaps some of the others where you felt a little bit less disconnected, but I still struggled with that living through a dream as opposed to actually being Eivor and playing through his destiny. I've always struggled with that kind of quandary that I'm playing a game as Eivor and then all of a sudden I'm Odin, and then just sort of giving a shit about that as much as I give a shit about Eivor is difficult.
It's a tough one. It's somewhat of a strange. Well, it is a bit of a strange choice. We spent 100 hours with Eivor mostly, and then they're like, right, off you go back to Odin. But I kind of understand why they've done it, even if it's just for a change of scenery, because in this realm or this setting, they can do a lot more with. And I think we sat here and complained about Ireland, green hills, France, green hills, fucking England, green hills, and it was like, this is getting a bit tiresome. So I'm not saying they listen to us specifically, but you can see why in that process they said, let's try and give the players a setting that's different. Oh, and we can make a setting that's pretty much unchanged from reality. So there's a lot of creative things we can do with that. I guess my question is, they've done that. does that come off as a net positive in terms of the new locations and the look and the feel of this land? I can't pronounce what you mentioned earlier. I've had a look at it. It's got a fucking V and a F and an H.
Svartalfheim.
Yeah, I can't be doing that. But does that as a location become a positive for the expansion, or ultimately does it just not matter?
Yeah, I mean,
have they chucked it?
It's 95% the same. And what I said to before. It's like they've. I can't remember what program it was, but there used to be a program where you could change the size. Like it'd be a flat land, you could just hold onto it and lift it up. Sims,
right? Yeah.
Sims, you could lift up the ground and change. It feels like they've got England and just sort of lifted it up a little bit, chucked in a few more trees. They put these like huge molten rocks in the air, which are from the baddies. They've kind of created them. But beyond that, I mean, you can tell that you're in a bit of a dreamy world in terms of you're not in in England, but you forget after a little while. Like the location isn't materially different enough for it to feel like it's a completely different game.
Yeah.
Like it definitely feels like AC Valhalla, like 100%, with a few small variations, pretty much. The one thing that they have tried to do, I guess, in making things slightly different, obviously there was a little bit of a switch up to doing certain things in the Paris DLC, and in this one they've added, it's called a Huga system. So you basically build up this Huga bar, which allows you to take on different abilities. So, for example, one of them allows you to walk on the lava so that you can access different areas.
Hold on, there's no lava in England. We're crapping on locations and there's lava going around.
Yeah, so basically, they're basically powerful Jotuns. So these big, powerful Jotuns, but they materialize out of lava. So you see these like little like lava pools, and they're basically like these like fiery Jotun. And that's how they seem to just appear. Like these enemies appear out of the bottom of lava and stuff. But obviously, if you walk on the lava, you get set on fire.
Yeah.
There's certain parts of the game and elements of the game where you need to activate this ability, which lasts for a short period of time until your Huga runs out.
Right.
Where you can like walk on this. Walk on fire, and obviously they recognize you as one of these like fire Jotuns, so that they don't attack you, so you can do some more stealth stuff. Like it basically activates some different powers. There's one where you can basically fly like a bird. So you become your bird pretty much, and you can fly for a short period of time and land on high objects. There's certain like keys in trees, for example, that you can access via that. Like, so they've basically added, I think there was 8 of them altogether.
Yeah.
I don't think I unlocked all 8. I think I unlocked 5 or 6. Where if you want to do certain parts in the game certain ways, you need to activate this Huga, and you gain it by slaying the Jotun or by accessing these little like trees, which refill your Huga at the expense of some health.
Is that an easy process, refilling it, or sometimes when you like scrapping around like fucking hell, I need some Huga or whatever it's called?
Oh, and there's all these flowers around the world where you can get Huga from these flowers.
Okay.
So they make it really easy to get it.
So you're not going to be losing out on Huga if you need it.
No, I think there was a couple of times where I'd ball something up or whatever, and I was like, oh, now I need some more. Now I know how to do it. And then I've had to go around
reload the save. Easier.
Well, no, I just went around looking for some things, but I was like, oh. But they've tried to do that, and I think that adds a certain different dynamic. But again, you kind of get used to it. At the beginning, I was like, what's all this? Like, what are we doing here? But you kind of get used to it and understand the mechanics and where to use them and notice the signs of where to use them, and you kind of get a bit more familiar with it. But it really doesn't babysit you in how to use them particularly. There's a small tutorial when you first unlock it, like there is for all the abilities. But yeah, like actually using it in practice for some reason seems different. It's strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've tried that, and that to some extent adds a different dynamic. But you still just find yourself wanting just to slay people with an axe. Like it's, in my opinion, just the most satisfying way to go about business.
Interesting. So does any of this stuff? So obviously, in the main game and in the expansions, you carry out things. You get experience points. You then get ability points to pump into new abilities. You know, and there's some cool stuff in there. There's other stuff like, you know, make your damage go 2% harder. I'm assuming that's in this expansion as well, in Dawn of Ragnarok, where I guess as Odin, you're doing these things. You maybe have got some new abilities that come with the expansion, and then were you to go back to Eivor, end of the game, mid game, whenever you want. I'm assuming you're not locked in completely. Do those abilities carry over into Eivor's world? So if you have got any unfinished business with him in your case, you can use some of the stuff that you've learned in this expansion.
Yeah, so you still get all these new abilities and things that expand your overall level through the skills tree. So that's still, there's more stuff to unlock there. And obviously you get the books of knowledge. There's more of them, so you can get more stuff there. The Hygge doesn't carry back into the Dream World, so that's only there in Svartalfheim. But all the other stuff. So if you find books of knowledge that give you different sort of powers and abilities, then they come back with you to Ravensthorpe.
Yeah.
But yeah, they added a few bits in there. There was nothing that particularly I thought was overly interesting.
Yeah.
There's different armors that you can collect. There's different books of knowledge and things and weapons that you can pick up. But
any new like weapon classes or anything? Or are they generally like just variations of the stuff that we know, like, you know, longsword?
Pretty much. I mean, you've got dwarven axes, I think. I don't know.
Which are just axes.
Pretty much.
They don't play any different, do they?
No, there's nothing there that plays any difference.
Okay.
There's a few. It's kind of variations, different combos and whatnot. Like you can unlock for them. I think that, like, one of the things that's really useful, if you get all the armor in the world, it gives you more fire resistance and fire build up and stuff, which is useful for navigating all those lava pools and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, broadly, you know, that's all much the same. So locating all the like you used to have titanium ingots, which are still there. You have to go off and get metal.
Yeah,
there's a different upgrade system. I can't remember what it is, but it's basically it's more of the same. So it's different in name only, but you have to go off and collect that. So there's all the raids still. So instead of raiding monasteries, you're raiding these Jotun encampments, where you then get some of this stuff to level up some of the dwarven weapons and your Hygge abilities, so you can do that. It's all pretty much of the same, other than it's different materials for a different land. Pretty much is the way I could describe it. So everything else there it'll all seem very familiar.
Interesting. How big is the map? Is it I mean, it's hard to quantify given how big the base game is, just England, and there's several locations on that. But I guess maybe the better question is, did the arena in which you was able to explore feel like a significant? Did this feel like a, you know, 32, 33 UK pound sort of pack of content in terms of just the areas to explore, plus all the other bells and whistles that you've been talking about?
Yeah, it's reasonably sized. I think it's probably about 2/3 of the size of England.
Oh, okay.
So it's probably not far off that. It was bigger than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, that's what I mean. I was like, oh, here we go. But yeah, it was reasonably sized. It felt like there was plenty of content there. As I say, I spent longer doing it. It felt longer than the Paris DLC.
Yeah.
And the area seemed a lot bigger and everything. So, yeah, I'd say that it felt like there was plenty of content there for you to get your teeth into. As I say, I barely touched the sides and getting a lot of the collectibles and things like that. I pretty much kept as best as I could. Unless I literally stumbled across something in my path to do, I wasn't really going out of my way, because I don't need to level up. I don't need to collect stuff. I'm kind of at a point where the one thing that is good is I didn't feel a need to be certain levels or have certain weapons. I feel like I'm at a point with the character where it's so leveled up that pretty much whatever I can use, however I want to use it, works.
Yes. Yeah.
So you kind of got freedom to do things pretty much how you want to do.
Yeah. That's good. That's good to hear, at least. I don't have any other specific questions. Is there any other thoughts that you had that we didn't get to, or any other business, I don't know, this part is just like anything that's kind of I haven't touched upon, and you're going to expose me and say, well, you should have asked about this.
Not really. I mean, in terms of how to review it, it's very difficult. As I say, the story is better, but it really is on almost every level more of the same. So if you want to do more Assassin's Creed Valhalla, then this is going to tick all the boxes. But there's nothing here that is dramatically different or life-changing from previous iterations and DLCs and games. As I say, I think the actual story gets better, and as I say, the quandary about his destiny and whether he's going to avert Ragnarok or cause it is a really interesting one in terms of Norse mythology. So I got into that, but there's again, I don't know. I really am undecided whether the sort of minor tweak, for example, to that Huga system or something like that is enough. Like, it's really difficult when I've done so many hours in something to then criticise it for being like continuing to be like that. Like it's that core gameplay and mechanic that's got 100 and silly hours out of me.
Yeah.
So, but the question is, could I have gone back and replayed some stuff and done that in England? So, done some of the collectibles and stuff and spent time there. I mean, I don't know. It's, as I say, I think broadly speaking, if you liked AC Valhalla, you're going to play, and all the other DLCs, you're going to like this. But it's just a case of whether you're in a rush to play through it or not. If not, I'd suggest picking it up at a slightly discounted price point at some point down the road, especially if you've got other stuff to play.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only reason it didn't get picked up for me, is just that the timing of it was not ideal. I was at that point when I think it came out in April. Like I've got the release date 10th of April, so a little ways ago now. But when that was circulating and coming out, I was like, I was still playing Horizon Forbidden West. We had all these chat about Elden Ring going on. I was like, when do I start playing that? And then I started getting these ideas in my head to go back and play older games, and it just hasn't found its slot yet. But I do intend to get to it at some point during 2022. And I don't think there's anything you've said that puts me off. I kind of would go in and thinking it's going to be more of what I know, and it feels like a commitment that I've already put so much time into the base game plus other expansions. I might as well just jump into this. It's nice. It's enjoyable. It's just like I can switch off. There's no real pressure there's no difficulty spikes usually, and you can just flow through it and have fun with it. So I'm absolutely interested in giving it a go. Well, if there's no more thoughts that you've got, it's time to decide whether Assassin's Creed Valhalla Dawn of Ragnarok earns a place in your very own gaming gallery sitting in the Dimp Digital Video Game Museum. All funds go to Dimp Digital HQ, not directly to the artistes. And as you know, there are several wings where you can induct the game, or you can choose not to. That is an option, which we'll get to. So at the very top, you want to save this platinum wing for a special game, something you'll remember as a favourite for years to come. Gold, a great game, something you'll remember as a highlight for a while. Silver, a good game, something you'll remember as a solid, worthwhile experience. Bronze, a decent game, something you'll remember as time well spent, but with some caveats. And alternatively, if you don't think it's worthy of going in your gaming gallery, give it the cold shoulder, and it'll sit outside your gaming gallery. Maybe I'll come along and pick it up later in the year and go, come on, you come into mine. Give him a pat on the back. But where does Dawn of Ragnarok sit? Is it going to earn a place into Logan's gaming gallery? So,
I guess taking into everything I've said into account, there's no huge game-breaking bugs there. There's naturally a few gripes, but I think they're consistent with the gripes that I've probably had throughout the game anyway, and that hasn't stopped me playing more hours into it. So I think that Dawn of Ragnarok goes into the gaming gallery. The question is,
where?
At what wing?
What wing?
So I would put this in my bronze wing.
Decent, time well spent, but with those caveats.
Yeah, and I think the caveats are pretty much that, not a huge fan of the dream world element of the story anyway.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess it's just a fatigue element at this point as well. I mean, arguably, I think I put the other ones. I think when we reviewed it, it said silver pretty much is where we've bunged it. And some might say it's slightly harsh just to put more of the same into bronze, but I think taking into consideration the amount of hours and whatnot, and the fact that I actually struggled to get into it at the start, probably couples to where we've put it in bronze.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm going to read off part of the description in the store, and then sort of put that alongside it's sitting in a bronze wing, just to see if that creates a conflict. In Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Dawn of Ragnarok, the most ambitious expansion in franchise history, it's sitting on the bronze, Ivor must embrace their destiny as Odin. Odin? Not Javi, or whatever his bloody name was in the game. It said Odin here.
Because if they said Javi, everyone would go, who?
Yeah. The Norse god of battle and wisdom. Unleash new divine powers as you embark on a desperate quest through a breathtaking world. Complete a legendary Viking saga and save your son in the face of the god's doom.
I mean, if there's ever an example
I love game descriptions
by a marketing team, then that is it.
I'm gonna do it more often.
I mean, yeah,
I'm gonna do it more often.
Yeah.
I just find them. Maybe we should do them at the start so that you can say, "Well, this is what they're selling us," and let's see, let's see if that pans out. Anyway, Dawn of Ragnarok sits on a bronze. I will get to it, and then I don't know if people will be interested in hearing what I've got to say. You're now the Assassin's Creed god now, so.
Perhaps we'll circle back to it on a future pod.
Yeah, absolutely. But everyone else, as per usual, thanks for listening or watching. If you've made it this far, you can support us on patreon.com/dimpdigital or go to twitch.tv/dimpdigital and subscribe there. Those are your two kind of monetary options, but just watching, just listening is enough for us. So nothing more for us to say here, though, other than thanks for your time and ta-ta.
This was a Dimp Digital production.